work which needs to be done. So in operating system, whenever we refer the task as, it is defined as the program in execution and the related information maintained by the operating system. So whichever the program which is in execution, when you consider the operating system context, in that task is nothing but a program in execution. So on the related information, what and all related information with respect to that particular program required by operating system. So all together we call it as task. So task or job or process refers to the same entity in the operating system. So you can take it as or call it as task or job or process, anything. So all are same. So process, when you come to defining the process, so process is nothing but it's a program or part of it in execution. So process is nothing but it's a program or part of a program which is in execution. So it can also be considered as instance of a program in execution. So you can also have multiple instances of the same program which can execute simultaneously. So simultaneously you can have a same program, like instance of same program that can be executed simultaneously. So whenever you are going for execution of the process, it requires various system resources. So when process is in execution, it requires various system resources like CPU for executing the process, like memory for storing the code corresponding to the process, and associated variables are required. Then IO devices for information exchange, etc. are required. So when a process requires, like it is in execution, it requires various resources like CPU for executing the process, then memory for storing the information or code or something corresponding to the process, and variables, some variables associated with are also required. And suppose if you are requiring with IO devices for information exchange is also required. So when it comes to the structure of the process, like the concept of process, it leads to concurrent execution of tasks, and you will be able to efficiently utilize the CPU and other system resources. So we are going to use it as a concurrent execution process. Leads to the concurrent execution of tasks, and thereby the efficient utilization of CPU and other system resources can be done. So how this concurrent execution is achieved means through the sharing of the CPU among the processes. So you're going to run or execute many processes by sharing the resources which are available in the CPU. A process uh, like properties which holds a set of registers, like process, a program counter to point to the next executable instruction of the process. Then a stack will be available holding the local variables associated with the process and code corresponding to the process. So in that a process which inherits all the properties of the CPU can be considered as a virtual processor, which is waiting for its turn to have its properties switched into the physical processor. So when the process gets in its turn, its registers and program counter registers are mapped to the physical registers of the CPU. So in CPU, you will be maintaining the registers, physical registers. So whenever the process gets its turn to for the execution, so all those registers and program counters are going to be mapped to the physical registers of the CPU. So when you consider the memory allocated to the processor, which are going to be divided into three parts. So like it is going to be divided into three parts. One is stack memory, and the other one is data memory, and the third one is code memory. So memory allocated to the processors are going to be divided into three parts. One is stack memory, the other one is, second one is data memory, and the third one is code memory. So stack memory, it is going to be used for holding the temporary data, like such as variables local to the processor. So you might be knowing whenever any program or process is in execution, so sometimes you will be temporarily storing some data onto the stack. So you're going to push some variables which are required for later purpose onto the stack memory. So stack memory always it holds all the temporary data such as variables which are local to that particular process. Again, when it comes to the code memory, so code memory, it contains the program code corresponding to the process. So for executing that particular process, you require some code. So that code will be stored in the code memory. And then data memory, it holds the data relevant to that particular process which you are executing. So there are three different parts. You are going to divide the memory allocated to the processor into stack, code, and data. So usually the stack memory starts at the highest memory address from the memory area allocated to the process. So for each process, whenever it is in execution, some memory will be allocated. So when that memory is allocated, that memory gets divided into three parts. One is stack memory, the other one is code memory, and the other one is data memory. So when it comes to the stack memory, so the highest memory address will be allocated for the stack. So it's usually stack memory usually starts with the highest memory address. So in the memory allocated to the processor, and always it grows downwards. So that means if your highest memory address is somewhere like 4000, so the next stack address will be 3096, like that. So 4 bytes down. So you are going to subtract the address value. So your stack grows downwards. So starting from the higher address to the lower address. So like that. So your data memory and code memory, it grows upwards. So three parts, memory will be divided into three parts. So in that three parts, so you will be having that as like you will be considering that as the data memory, code memory, and the stack memory. Then stack memory grows downwards, data memory and code memory goes upwards. So when it comes for the process states and state transitions, here. So process states and state transition. So the creation of process to its termination it's not a single step operation. So always whenever you start with the process states and state transition, so the creation of a process to its termination is not a single step operation. So the process travels through a series of states during its transition. So you might be knowing in the operating system process states, what are the different states available. You will be having create, ready, running, waiting, blocked, all these kinds of states available in the operating system. So it is nothing but a series of state during its transition from the newly created state to the terminated state. So create state to termination state. So this is called as the process life cycle. So when it comes for the first one, created state. So what is that created state means? State at which the process is being created, the first step. So when you create or start the process, so that state is considered as created state. So state at which the process is being created, but no resources are allocated. So still no resources are not allocated. You have just started with the process. So you have just, the process is being created. Then comes the ready state. So incepted into the memory and awaiting the processor time for execution. So now your process is ready for execution. So it is requesting or it is waiting for the processor time for getting executed. Then running state in which the process execution happens. So actual process execution now happens in the running state. And you will be having a blocked or wait state. So where a running process is temporarily suspended. So whenever you are running some process or it is in the execution process, so for some reasons temporarily that process is going to be suspended from execution and does not have immediate access to the resources available. So that state we call it as blocked or wait state. Then completed state, where the process completes its execution. So completed state is nothing but where a process completes its execution, starting from the beginning created state to the terminated or completed state. So you can see with the diagram. So here you can see the diagram here, created. So this is the first stage. You are creating the process, then incepted into memory. That means it is stored in the memory. Then the ready state. Now it is ready for execution. So then when you get the time, so allotted for the processor, this is scheduled for execution. It goes to the running state. So whenever in the running state, so sometimes interrupted or preempted, again it may come back to the ready state. So this is interrupted or preempted. Then this execution, when it is in the running state, when the execution completes, it may go to the completed state. So sometimes it may also, process may also enter the blocked state. So from the running state, if it is waiting for some IO devices to be connected, so then it has to wait for some time. So that time it will enter for the blocked state, waiting for shared resources, because your resources are going to be shared among many processes. So you need to wait for some time duration. So that time it enters to the blocked state. So this is blocked state. So IO completion, that means if IO devices are allocated to that particular process, whichever you have required. So if it is completed, then IO completion happens, and again it will go back to the ready state. So this is the process states and state transition diagram. So this is nothing but your process states and state transition diagram, which you can consider as like the representation, how the process states and state transition diagram works. So here there are examples, process state examples. So VxWorks kernel, the tasks may be in either one or a specific combination of the states: ready, pend, delay, and suspend. So in different operating systems, they use the different notations for creating that particular state diagram, state transition diagram. So here pend state represents state where the task or process is blocked or waiting for IO or system resources, same as waiting or blocked state. So here they refer it as pend. Then delay state represents a state in which the task process is sleeping. So it is not doing anything, it is in the sleeping. And suspend state represents a state where a task or process is temporarily suspended from execution and not available for execution. So these are the notations they use for writing the state transition diagram in the VxWorks kernel. It's one of the operating system example. So same way you have microC or OS2 kernel. So here the tasks may be in one of the states, dormant. They use the different notations or words, that's all. So dormant, ready, running, waiting, or interrupted. So dormant state represents the created state, and waiting state represents the state in which a processor waits for the shared resources. Okay, so micro C or OS2 kernel, the tasks may be in one of the following states. So these are the two examples you can consider. So when it comes to the process management, again, you know that how the process management is going to happen. Creation of the process, then setting up of the memory space for the process. First, you need to create the process. Once you create the process, you need to set up the memory space for the process. And then once the memory space is allocated for that particular process, the next step is loading that process code into the memory space. So whatever the code you want to execute, that process code should be loaded into the memory space. Then you have to allocate the system resources. The next step is you need to allocate the system resources in the sense CPU, any other resources which it requires. Then setting up a process control block, that is PCB. Then the final state is process termination or deletion. So when the process is completed, you have to go for the termination process. So these are the steps which you need to follow in the process management. One is the creation, next setting up the memory, third is loading the process code into the memory, next allocating the system resources, next setting up a process control block, then last is process termination. So next concept is threads. So now what do you mean by thread is, it's a primitive that can execute the code. So process is your program in execution. So that process can be divided into threads. So that is nothing but a thread. So a thread is known as a lightweight process. So it is a single sequential flow of control within a process. It is to a particular process, you are going to create a thread. So that thread will be executing in a sequential flow of control, and it is a lightweight process. So a process can have many threads of execution. So a single process, whatever you want to execute, that can be divided into many threads for execution purpose. So different threads which are part of process share the same address space. So you need to remember this, different threads. So a process can be divided into threads, but that threads, different threads which are part of a particular process, it has to share the same address space. That means they share the same data memory, code memory, and heap memory area, which is allocated for that particular process. So in the beginning, when you create a process, memory will be allocated for the process. So in that memory, you will be available with data memory, code memory, and stack memory, all those things. So all those memory part will be shared for all the threads which are created under that particular process. So threads maintain their own thread status. So threads are going to maintain their own thread status like CPU, register values, program counter, and stack. So memory model of the process and its associated threads is given in the next diagram. You can see here. So this is stack memory for the process. So you'll be allocated with stack memory for the process. So for thread, it maintains different stack memory for different threads. So stack memory for thread 1, stack memory for thread 2. So but this data memory for process and code memory for process is going to be shared by all the threads which are created for this particular process. So only the stack memory, the thread is going to maintain separately. Stack memory for thread 1, stack memory for thread 2. But data memory and code memory is going to be a shared one for the memory organization of a process as well as and its threads. A process can create threads or it is going to be divided into many number of threads. So when it comes for the concept of multi-threading, a process or task in embedded application may be like complex or lengthy one. So a process whichever you are going to choose for execution in an embedded application, it may be very complex or lengthy. It can be lengthy in and one of it may contain various sub operations. So it may contain various sub operations.